Yes, I think so. Yeah. So everybody, we're back to the workshops, the data-driven journalism school workshops. So the same reminder, data-driven journalism school organized by the European Journalism Center and Open Knowledge Foundation. If you want to have all the material, the links, the presentations from all the data-driven journalism school panels, the 10 workshops, you need to register on datajournalismschool.net, and you'll get emails with all the material. And you also need to share your impressions and what you think, your questions, what you learn on social media using the hashtag DDJSchool. And now I'm very happy to give the floor to Giannina Senini, who was leading the one of the greatest data investigation teams worldwide in the newsroom of La Nación in Costa Rica, and who is going to give us a 1 hour and a half workshop on investigating financial data. Sorry, I don't remember. Investigative organized crime data. So it's going to be a hands-on training. So if you have your computers, pull them out and get ready to work with Giannina. Giannina, I give you the floor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Antoine. And I'm very glad to be here. First of all, how many of you have computers? And do you have Wi-Fi connection, all of you? Great. Okay, because the idea is that we're going to work on specific cases. First, I'm going to give you some tools and examples on what you can do, and then this is the public folder for this session, so please go there, and if you want to download everything, you can do it, or you can work directly from the folder. So while you get in, I'm going to briefly describe what is this session about. It really started from a particular case that I'm going to show you, and then I became like obsessed with investigating cargo, shipping, and maritime resources and tools. And since then, I've been getting inputs and tips from many people around the world on how can you trace, how can you track shipments, cargo, and so on. Did you copy the link? Yeah. Okay. Now? Okay. So well, you will see this once you. This is a public folder that contains everything you will need for this session, including the presentation. So this is a folder with some data sets that I downloaded. I don't know if we're going to have time to use them. Then you have this Word document, which is all the exercises that we're going to do at the end of the session. Some of them we're going to do it together, and some of them we will have like a competition, and I hope that you can, all of you can finish. And this is a data set. Not a data set, this is just an Excel file with all the confiscation of containers in the port of Gioia Tauro. How many Italians are here? Okay, so great. Great, because this is going to be a very Italian session. I mean, all the data and things that we're going to use are from Italy. And I did some research on what could be interesting for Italy. And I found out, I don't know if it's true or not, that the Gioia Tauro port in Calabria is taken by the mafia. So we're going to work with some cargo shippings from and to Gioia Tauro. So what you have here is an Excel file with some of the most recent events. And this is the date, the port, and how many kilograms of cocaine were confiscated, as well as the description. And some of them have, this I took it from the internet, basically some press releases and stories published by the media. So the idea is that we're going to try to track these shipments and at the end of the session, as I said. Then here you also have, this is the presentation. It's in Prezi. It's an exportable file, and you can download it and run it from a Mac or PC. If you want to follow the presentation, you can use this. And finally, and this is really important, all the sources that we're going to use during the session are in this file called sources. So basically, it contains all the links and descriptions of the databases and tools that we're going to use during the session. Okay, so let's start. Okay, first of all, we're going to try to change our mind about things. Every single thing, every single tangible thing has a code. My glasses, your shirt, this chair, everything, the microphone, everything has an HS code. And this is really important in order to trace trade, international trade. So for instance, these are not knives. In the trade world, these are 821191. This is the code for the table knives. And these are not cigarettes. They are called 240220. And this is an international code. Even military weapons have a code. For instance, this one, if it's traded somehow or sent somewhere in the world, it will be sent by the code 930190. And regular weapons as well, they do have a code, and the code is 9307. Ivory also has a code, 050710, and we can go on and on and on, like with everything you can imagine. So these tanks as well have a code, 871000. Okay, so why is this important? Because, as I mentioned, if we want to follow international trade, we have to get familiar with these codes. I'm going to show you a database that it's really important for every journalist. If you're not covering trade or economics, it doesn't matter. I mean, it works for everybody. Just go to Google and type UN Comtrade. So here we have this database that was recently updated. Until the end of last year, we didn't have monthly data. Now we have. And for instance, you can see, first we're going to go here to describe what do they have. It's basically a United Nations database containing all the statistics and description of trade around the world. Trade of anything you can imagine. And there are many ways to search. This is the annual database. But first of all, I want you to get familiar with what we have here. As well as things have a code, countries as well have codes. So you can go to the country list and find the code for Italy, for instance. It's 381. And this is important because, as you will see, once we start doing queries and searches, you will need this code. So you can find this here in fast tracks, as well as the commodity list. All I showed before came from here. So you have 99 big numbers, like 2 numbers, and basically from there, everything breaks down. Like here you have the 89, it's ships, boats, and other floating structures. And it breaks down until vessels, for instance. And even from there, you have more specific characteristics of the code. And this is a 6-digit code. But then what happens when things are imported or exported is that specific regions or countries have more, they add more numbers to this code. Like, for instance, if you have a table for UN Comtrade, the table will be 6-digit number, but then you can add 2 or 3 numbers more, like for a 6 feet table or so on. I mean, you can really go specific on things depending on the code. But this is, as I say, this is international, and customs around the world use these codes in order to send, to export and export. Okay. Now that you know where to find the descriptions, let's go to the monthly data. And let's do a very, very short exercise just to get familiar with the database and how does it work. If you go to monthly data, you will have a more friendly interface than the one of the annual data. I hope this works. Sure. Okay, here we go. So here you have this tab, choose table view, and go to this query place where you can type. If you have the number, you can type the number. Reporter is the country that reports the event. And partner is the one receiving, let's put it this way. So reporter, we're going to search for all the reports of Italy, and then we want to see partners, we want to see everything that was sent all over the world. Of course, we have to focus on something, so we can use this code. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the chemical precursors. Okay, chemical precursors are really, really important because those are the elements that you need to make drugs. Basically, this one is one of the most important one. Potassium permanganate is the one that you need to prepare cocaine, and so these chemicals are really, really controlled. And there is an international agreement, and most of the countries are signed to this agreement. So basically, in every country, you cannot freely sell potassium permanganate because it has to be controlled by the governments. So we're going to use this code to see how much potassium permanganate was imported by Italy. So you basically type the code, and as you see, you get manganate, potassium permanganate as the description, and then we want to see everything, and we want to see imports. Okay, so you just download the file, and it's going to generate a CSV file that you can then import from Excel or any other tool. Okay. So as you can see, we have every single import, not individually, but I mean, it's very close to that because as you can see, we have the value, how much it was paid, and this is monthly data. So for instance, we can see here the countries where the potassium permanganate is imported. It's basically Belgium, France, Germany, the Netherlands, and Spain. So there is something very easy that we're going to do. Supposedly, in the ideal world, everything you import should match with what the other countries are reporting as exports, right? So we're going to try to see. Oh, there's one thing I have to say about this. What you see here, world, is the only bad thing that this database has. Because what happens is that sometimes countries do not report the partner, and so instead of that, you will see world. But anyway, now that we have the monthly data, we're going to generate another file here, and instead of typing Italy as a reporter, we're going to use all reporters, and we're going to type Italy in partners. Okay. And instead of imports, okay, I made a mistake in the last one. It was exports. Anyway, we're going to see the imports, the exports from all over the world to Italy, and it's the same commodity, the potassium permanganate. So we'll generate the table and go to Excel. Okay. Now we have.
Sorry. In the second example, I missed some entry. In the reporters field, you put Italy. I can't read that. Sorry.
Here. Okay, I'm going to go slowly. I'm sorry for that.
You.
Okay. So what we are trying to do...
So basically equal to the previous one?
No.
With export instead of import?
We just switch. Instead of typing Italy here as a reporter, we are going to search...
As a partners.
As a partner, and we're going to search all the reporters, what they reported about sending potassium permanganate to Italy. In theory, they should match. What Italy reports as an import should be reported as an export by the third party, the other country, right? The logic behind this is because sometimes countries do not report everything. So this, in theory, should match. But also it works because if you want to see the whole picture of some commodity, you can, as I said, you can search for whatever you want to search. We're using this particular chemical because, as I mentioned, it's a very delicate commodity. It's supervised and controlled and so on. So what we're going to do, we did before. Here, in the first example, we typed Italy as a reporter and all in partners, right? Is the same commodity, 28, 41, 61. And here, for Italy, we had imports, right? Because we want to see what Italy imports from other countries. And then in the second example, we have all reporters to Italy, the same commodity, and instead of imports, we have now exports, right? Okay, so all you have to do is generate the file. It's a CSV file, and then you can open it. I'm using Excel, but if you don't have Excel, you can use or whatever, Open Excel or open documents. So what we have here is we have two tables, right? This one is what Italy reported since 2010 monthly as an import. And then we will do a simple thing, which is just add all the imports here. So we have, this is in dollars, by the way, US dollars. So we have $11 million imported since 2010 of potassium permanganate, according to Italy, the Italian government. This database is built by what the governments report to the UN, and they are obliged to report everything. Now we're going to the second table. And we're going to do the same. So this, I mean, from here you can analyze the data in a more creative ways, but for this session we're not going to get into details because we have a lot to see. So what you can see here basically is Italy is reporting the double amount of imports than what other countries are reporting. And so if you carefully compare both tables, you will see how France, for instance, is not reporting everything that is sent into Italy, and as well as Spain. Here we have more records in you can create a pivot table and start analyzing the data carefully. But what I wanted to show basically with this example is how can you have an idea of trade around the world. Yes?
Sorry, I know you said it before, but I forgot it. You say that unfortunately they say word instead of the country or each country?
Yes, yes. But we can work on this, like if, for instance, if we have here world, this could be one of these other examples. So the idea is that you can match both things to try to calculate the real amount on. But this is just an exercise that we can conclude easily that some countries are not reporting half of the exports they are doing to they are sending to Italy. Sometimes you will see the opposite. You will find how a country is underreporting and the world is reporting the right thing. So, well, basically what you can do here with this database is everything you can imagine. This is the wide length. Now we're going to go specifically into trade, and we're going to search. But first, I will give you some tools that you will find them all in the presentation and the sources document that I mentioned before. So this data that we were using is statistical data, aggregated data, right? Because we are not seeing the names of the exporters at all, or the importers. But now we're going to go into specifics. In the internet, you can find data, aggregated data, statistical data, and you can find specific data about people and companies. Where did you get that? Okay, well, first of all, Comtrade, then you have also this other source of information, which is a trade map. It's basically the same as UN Comtrade, but they made an effort to complete the information that is not completed, like the world thing that we were talking about. Okay, so now these are other sources of information that are private. So the magic that we're going to do here is that we're not going to spend any money, and we're going to use them all as much as we can, because it happens that they have free sections. And the free sections or parts of the data sets that are available, if you match them all, if you use all these sources, then at the end you have the whole picture of information. This one is called Import Genius, and is probably one of the most used around the world. It's like $500 a month or so. and we're not going to pay for it, but we're going to use it. Then we have this other one that contains not just from the US, information from the US, but also from other countries, such as Colombia and many Latin American countries. Then we have this other one that is really, really good. I suggest you to, you have to create accounts in order to use them. So if you can do that while we talk, that would be terrific. Peers contains, what happens is that the US government releases every day all the trade information and data. And they sell like a particular disk, and most of these companies make money out of selling this. I mean, I really hate this. I really hate this. And not just me, apparently, because you will see how some activists and hackers have done. I discovered in the last month 3 resources that I will show you in a while that are really amazing. Simple. This one is also one of these. The thing with this database is, I mean, all of them structure the data in different ways. So, for instance, Peers allows you freely only to search imports. Imports means exports for us, because it's imports from the US, right? So if you want to search from any country in the world to the US, then you will use, you could use Peers. And in Peers, as you can see, you can search by commodity, by country, by company, and date as well. Just going to show you how it works, because we're going to use it for the exercises in a while. Once you register, you will see Okay, so we are here in Peers, and we're going to search by country, for instance, Italy. But as you can see, we can search by commodity. That's why it's super important to know the commodity code that we saw at the beginning. So we will search Italy. And here we have records of all the imports from the point of view of the US. And you can get part of the information, not everything. But you can see, for instance, accessories for loading arm. This is the description of the commodity. And then you have a more detailed description and boxes and so on. And all the things that you see that are blocked, you can find them in different other sources, right? So that the magic happens when we are going to combine all these things. So from here, if we want to search by a company, for instance, this is super helpful. If you are investigating a company, you just type the company. This is a company that uses to send bananas from Ecuador to Italy, and oops, I typed something wrong. Okay, or they don't. Ah, yeah, because the search. This is super important. The search here. I can go up to 2000, the year 2000 or so. No. Okay, the free version allows you only to search.
You can just type in the box.
Yeah. It's okay, we're going to search anything else. So what you will get is basically the same information I was showing before, This is a concept we will see briefly, bill of lading. This is the master document for shipping and cargo. It contains everything you can imagine, the name of the shipper, the vessel, how was it transported, and so on. So as you see, most of the information is blocked, but you have here, for instance, Napoli, you have the address of the shipper and the name of the shipper, Med Service Overseas, and you have the container number. And in a while, we will see how to use all this information to track data. So basically, you have these peers where you can search by company, country, and so on. And the range of search is not really big, but we will use other sources, like, for instance, this one. This one is absolutely amazing. This is open. You don't have to sign for this tool. It's called Port Examiner. So you basically go here and search, say, Italy. The problem with this one is that it's not up to date. It's not real-time data. Other resources are totally real-time, and we will use them as well. But for instance, this one is free. You don't have to pay, and you get everything. Nothing is blocked. The data for this database is like a month old. So if you're searching for a cargo, let's say of this year, then you can go here and then you get everything: the name of the shipper, the consignee, the vessel name, where it was transported, the voyage number, and again, the port. In this case, is Genoa, Italy, and it was discharged in New York. So you see here all the description, and the technical information about the container. You get the container here. So this one is really great, but as I said, if you're searching for something that happened yesterday, it's not going to work. But this is really amazing. I just discovered this database, and this is not just for containers and shipping and cargo. This is, I'm actually trying to meet these guys because they are creating a monster. If you go, well, you have I think you have it in the sources document. It's basically app.enigma.io. Mm-hmm. So you go there and you search. I will do something really stupid just to show you how much information you have in this database. Italy, it's super easy to use, and I think you have to sign, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, while you do that, I will show you what you have here. It's not just shipping information. You have everything you can imagine. What they have been doing is consolidating all the federal data from the US, from UN, from any international organization. Like you can see the sources here. If you type Italy, you will see that you have more than 3,000 records coming from federal institutions in the US, the European Union, India, the UK, and so on. For instance, if you want to see what's there, you can see the Federal Reserve economic data. The manifests is what we were talking about, the bill of ladings. You have all the information. Nothing is blocked or censored. And then you have air carrier activity as well. For instance, all the statistics of international market for, flying, export sales, and also companies, contracts in the US. Like if the word Italy, you can search for a specific company, but if the word Italy appears somewhere in the US government spending, you will get the contracts right here, everything. And then you have also the National Institute of Health, blah, 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 the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Climate Change database, and the companies. You can also search for a particular company, and if it's registered somewhere in the US, you didn't have to go and type, because these are public databases. What they did is that they consolidated everything. So this catalog is really the most really rich in terms of resources. And recently, as I mentioned before, they have been adding not just US information, but also information from other governments like India, Norway, Pakistan, and so on. Or companies as well, they are scraping data from companies and put it in here. So in order to start getting familiar with the information, we're going to type Gioia Tauro, the Italian port. So you will see that you get from here you see Indian customs as well is in there. But we want to see the bill of ladings because we want to do a serious investigation on this port, right? So it's a little bit slow. It's taking too much time, but I'm going to show you what I downloaded because I don't want to spend time on this. You can do it later at home. You will get something like this, and you can export everything to Excel or CSV as well. So look at this. This I did it in the morning. And this is up to date. The information is for now. This is everything that was declared in the port of Gioia Tauro, and you can get everything: the shipper address, the party name, this is the exporter, and also the container number and the description of what was shipped. For instance, this is furniture, or you name it. You can search by anything you want. You can search by container number, by bill of lading number, by country name, by port, by whatever you want. And the greatest thing of all is that you can export all this information that is official and public into a table and then work with it and analyze it. So this one, it's a must. Again. But you can also find information from the shipping lines, and this is what we're going to do in this session. And from, there's something really important. This session is specifically targeted to the maritime world, but the air world has the same information and kind of sources available. So you can just transfer the logic behind what we're going to do to the air cargo and air passengers. It works the same. And also terrestrial transportation. So we get information from customs, from the ports, from the shipping lines. And I'm going to show you a real case. But first of all, we're going to get familiar a little bit with something that is really important, containers. Containers are so important that the UN has a specific department to track and supervise the world of containers. So I don't know how many times you've been driving and you see something like this while you drive. This is a regular picture for those of you and you don't see anything important, right? It looks like a very boring picture, but it isn't. From here, you can do things like this. This is a case, what I love about this kind of tools is that this is not an investigation that takes 1 year or 2 years. These are things you can do in 20 minutes. And this is an example we did once. I'm going to talk about later. But basically, we received a wire from Mexico that some containers were full of sharks stuffed with cocaine in Mexico, and they were sent from Costa Rica. And I will show you in a while how we did it. But first of all, please pay attention to this because it's super important. We're going to decode the code. This is the container number. So what you have in the container number is the first 4 letters refers to the owner of the container. And then you have a registration number, which is unique from this company. And then you have a check digit that it's a very technical thing. But basically, there is a registration for the owners of containers, and it's based in France. It's called the Bureau of International Containers. And there is the address. You have it also in the source document. So you can go there, and type the first 4 letters of a container. Let's do it just to make sure that you will see it's so simple. For instance, if I have this, let's use this example, the same example. We're going to search for SUDU. You have here the big code. This is how it's called, and you go to registered codes and you search SUDU, and voila, the container is owned by Hamburg Süd in Germany. So you get all the information about the company and even the link where you can go and search. You can go and search here and track and trace. Let's search for this container to see where it is. I forgot the last, no. It's a 7-digit code. So you have to type the 1 as well. Okay. Now here we have, how many of you have used FedEx or DHL? Okay, so it's the same principle. You track a package, you track containers. So we're going to use their own system to search the containers. So now here we have, we now know that this container is, in this moment, today, in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands, and it was transported by the ship Cap San Antonio. And this, what you see here, is very important. This is the voyage number. The voyage number will help you to trace data around the world using customs and other resources. But now, if we're going to trace a container, we go there and we search for the owner. Sometimes you're going to find that the owner is not a shipping line. It's just a company that leases container to another company. But don't worry, because you go to the real owner, and the owner must have a search box in which you can do something called unit inquiry, and you get who is operating the container, and from there you keep searching and searching. So you will always find a tracking system for every shipping line. So now that we know how important is the container number, as I said, there are more information available. For instance, the ESO 3166. This is optional. It's going to be obligatory in the future, but this is another code for country here. This is another container that already has this new code, and it helps you also to search by country. Okay, and just to finish with the boring part, this bill of lading that I mentioned before is really important. As I said, it's like the master document. Here, from this document, you get who is the exporter, the shipper, the consignee, who has to be notified when the cargo arrives, and the port of loading and the port of discharge, and so on. And the vessel. Look at all the information you have here. So you can get to this number by searching other information. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this real case. It's, as I said, it's a 45 minutes investigation, no longer than that. We didn't spend any money. So as I said, it was 4:30 in the afternoon, and we received this wire from the FA agency saying that in Mexico they captured one container full of sharks stuffed with cocaine. So if you see here, this is the I'm sorry, it's in Spanish. This is the official site for the Secretary of Maritime Affairs in Mexico. And so the first thing they do, and they love it, people in the ports and policemen and the officials, the first thing they do is go to the TV, call the press and say, thanks to the efforts of blah, 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 blah. And so you get sometimes images, and it happens very often here also in Italy. I was looking at the webpage for the Guardia di Finanza, and they have lots of reports about, especially Gioia Tauro, but many other ports in Italy. So the difference is that they don't publish the container number. And I called them in the morning to see if they can give it to us. And they were like, well, first of all, my Italian is 0. So I was not, I had no luck, but they gave me some other information. So this is the container number. And it was supposed to be just one container, right? So from here, we started the investigation. What we did is we went to this Bureau of Containers, and we searched for the first 4 letters, as I described before. And then we found out that the container is owned by Maersk, the shipping line. Then we went to Maersk, and this was real time. I mean, the containers were detained, like, let's say, yesterday or today. So we searched for the itinerary of the container, and we found out also from there, if you see, you get also the vessel name. So you have now more information. You have all the itinerary, the history of where it was loaded, in which country, at what time, et cetera, and you get also the ship information. Okay, this is for Costa Rica, but many countries have this. I can give you a list, I think it's over there. This is customs in Costa Rica. So what happens is that we are so lucky that we can go to customs, and instead of going to all these US systems, we go directly and we search by container. So first thing we did, once we had the owner, the itinerary, first we discovered that the cargo was not sent as wrongly, as the Wired said wrongly. It was not sent from the Atlantic, it was sent from the Pacific. So this was just 1 minute after starting to investigate. Then we go to customs here, and we discovered that there were not just there was not one container, there were 2 containers carrying sharks. And here we have the whole description of the sharks. Of course, they didn't describe the cocaine. They forgot about that. But then you get the name of the exporter. In this case, this company that you see here, Tenería del Caribe International. And from here we got. This is the bill of lading, and we have everything here. Who sent the cargo, and then the company and the 2 container numbers, and we created this like in an hour, which is very funny because the sharks were sent to the U.S. They passed through 2 different ports in the U.S. before being detained in Mexico. So and these 2 ports in the U.S. they didn't discover the sharks, and those are the vessels that transported the cargo. And so we showed how it passed through the Panamanian Channel instead of being sent from the Atlantic. And then we got the name. And so we have a database of all the companies in the country. And so in minutes, we discovered the name of the owner of the company, the president of the country, that it turned out to be a Mexican who was living in Costa Rica. And this is the guy, Francisco Pozos. So we also went to Mexico to search for this company, and it's registered in Mexico as with the same name. So we got an address here, and then they are registered as a company that deals with sharks, chemicals, or. And this is the end of the story. We published the day after. This is not the first publication, but basically, before the police got the information from the Mexican government, in 30 minutes we had everything about the exporter and so on. We use this same logic for many cases, and not only drugs or arms, weapons, and so on, but for many other cases. Like, but the important thing here is not to memorize tools, or the important thing here is the logic behind the sharks case. The logic is what I really want to focus on, and that is chain searches. Like, in the internet, you can find basically whatever you want if you really know how to combine. It's like driving. At the beginning, it's a little bit tricky, but then when you start, it's like magic. You start with one piece of information, and from there you get everything. So, for instance, in this case, we could start with a container number. Like, this is the logic behind this case. You get the container number. From the container, you got the BL. From the BL, you got the shipper and consignee, the addresses, and everything. And but sometimes all you will have is the bill of lading. So with the bill of lading, you can do the same. You can go and search the containers, and with the containers, you can search the vessels, and with the vessels, you get the route, and so on. And sometimes you are only investigating people or companies, right? So if you are investigating a company, it's different. The logic behind it is different. You got to go to one of those tools that I showed before, search by company, and then you get all the bill of ladings, and go from the general to the specific until you get the cargo description and the shipper and importer and so on. Well, this was just to say that this is a company that owns container, but they do not operate the containers. So what you do is you get this information from the Bureau of Containers. So you go there, and this is what I was just talking about before. You search for unit status or inquiry, and then you get here the name of the shipping line that is operating this container. So in this case, this container that I was searching, I go to Hapag-Lloyd, and then I type the code again and the container number, and I get everything. Another trick, for those of you, I don't know how many of you use the advanced search operators in Google, but basically you can search within some of these very expensive databases by doing this. What you do here is basically you type site, so you search, you tell Google only to search in this site, right? And so you go from behind and get the information. The trick is completed, like I will show you how it works, because in my case, I've been doing this for so long that someday they will stop it. You basically go to Google, for instance, and sometimes what is going to happen, like, let me show you what happens. If you just type this, okay, now it's working. Sometimes it will say registered and pay $499, blah, 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 blah. So in this case, if it happens to you after a while, what you got to do is this. You search by, okay, Italy, again. So if you go here and you go and search for the cache file, because remember that Google stores every single search they do. So if it doesn't work, you go and use the cache, and you get it like this. Ta-da! What you have here is the entire bill of lading, everything. Instead of paying, you just do this. You get the shipper, the consignee, the arrival date, the bill of lading, blah, 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 and all the information that now you know bill of lading contains. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, you can do the same for any other sites, right? You can search by country or whatever, and you get this. Okay, so this is the last part of resources, and it's really, really important. This database did not exist a year ago. I was driving crazy to do what now is absolutely possible. It's amazing, it's for free, and it comes from the International Maritime Organization. You have to register, but it's for free. And what you will see here is, let me show you because it's really amazing. In the past, you got to guess. You had to guess where a ship was registered, right? So it was really a nightmare in order to know where was it based, who was the owner, et cetera, et cetera. These are more than 20 databases in one. But the most amazing one is this one, ship particulars. So you go here and you type. You can search, as you can see. Oh, again, let's go back to the codes. Everything has a code, remember, even ships, especially ships. So in the maritime world, a ship is called by its name and also by an IMO number. So if you have the IMO number, you can search by IMO number. In this case, we're going to search by name. And we are going to search for, this is the ship that was... Okay, this is the ship that was carrying the cocaine that was confiscated in Gioia Tauro. It's called Bellavia, and basically what you get from here is the owner name. You see, here you have the owner's name and where is it registered. In this case, is Marshall Island. And so it says when it was built. But as you see, if you have a ship that you're investigating, and this works for everything, even yachts. If you're investigating someone, you can try to search first here, and then from here you can go directly to the country and search the company name or search the local registry, because you get more information in the Panamanian registry, for instance, or here in Europe. It's really... I mean, there's a lot of information available. In Norway, they have even the mortgages of the ship and everything. So you can continue searching by going to the original source. And in this case, it's Istvia Cherftin, I can't pronounce that. Okay, and what do you have? Here you also have not just the registry, but you have also this. You can get even the cellular phone numbers of anybody around the world related to the shipping or the maritime world. For instance, let's go to Italy. So you can search the organization contacts. Let's try to find the people responsible for. Well, let's try to find these 3. Okay. So you have the national authorities responsible for ship security, and you get the name, Comando Generale della Capitaneria di Porto, and you have the cell phone number and the fax and the email and everything. And this is for the globe, everything. So if you're in a hurry, you get all the information from here. But they also have something that didn't exist in the past, which is the casualties and incidents related to, and then a database of all the piracy events. But this one is particularly great. You go and search, you can search by country as well. Okay. Flag administration, you go and search Italy, and you get all the information you need. So as you can see, there are 111 incidents reported and related to Italy. And they are cataloged from very serious to minor events. Like, let's see this in Genoa, for instance. So you have all the description and what happened, the events, the Italian flag container ship, Jolly Nero had a contact with blah, 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 blah. You have all the report and everything that happened. And this is the same for the piracy event. So you have, okay, you can explore this database more in detail, but I just wanted to point out the 3 more important resources. Then to go to finish, we have also, this one is particularly important. This is Paris Mo. How many of you have used this database before? No? Okay, for Europeans, it's really important. This database, you will see, it's absolutely lovely. So this database is the organization that inspects vessels in Europe. And they have a great database that you can actually export into to Excel. So, for instance, you can go to detentions and banning, and you get all the vessels that are detained at this very moment. And you get all the information of what happened. For instance, here we have an Italian ship that it was detained, today is what? Oh, it was detained the 29th. So you get, you get the prime information, not the report yet, because the detention occurred like 2 days ago. But then you have a historic database here. And this is really, really good, because you can go and search by the vessel. Like, let's search for Italian vessels. You just select Italy from flag, search, and there you go. You get all the Italian vessels that have been inspected. But let's be a little bit more morbid. Let's search for those who were detained here, okay? So all those ships with the Italian flag that were detained. And now we have this, and this is the complete report. Like, for instance, this is the Hypsas vessel. It was built in the 76, and this is all the information. And here you have all the description of why this ship was detained. So whenever something happens with a ship, you know, and you can go and trace the past, all the inspections and so on. Okay, these are all the vessels that are banned to navigate in Europe, and the U.S. has something similar. It's in the tip document, and the good thing about this is, but guess what happens to a ship when it's not allowed to navigate in Europe or the U.S. It's in Latin America, of course. So, I mean, that's why I love it, because I normally try to match this with the ships that are navigating in the territory, and it's amazing how many of them are sent to Asia or Latin America. Okay, so this is another database of piracy reports. It contains also a map, and real-time map, with all the events and descriptions. This is just a guide, because we will use all the resources around the world. Remember that I just showed you the Costa Rican Customs webpage that is for free, you don't have to sign? Okay, so the idea of this is that you don't need any passport to investigate on the internet, okay? You don't need to travel, you don't need anything, you just have to go to the right places. And Google, it's not gonna do everything for you. As you can see, all this information that we are searching is within databases that are not indexed. So this is the directory of all the customs around the world. So if you are investigating some shipment and it came from Ecuador or from Peru, for instance, you can go amazingly and see this. Okay, this is Peru. Most of the cargo coming with drugs, and especially drugs to Italy, comes from Ecuador or from Peru, right? So you not only investigate in Italy. If you don't get the information in Italy, then you can go here. For instance, Peru has a customs webpage that is amazing. I think it's better than the US one. You go, it's called Manifiesto, and I think in Italian is the same, right? Manifiesto. The bill of lading is the same thing. So you go to this page and you can see Manifiesto de Carga, blah, blah, blah. You get familiar with it. If you don't speak Spanish, it's okay. You can go to Google Chrome and translate immediately. Okay, so we're gonna search what is going on in Peru now. In Peru, the main port is Callao. So we're gonna try to find what happened yesterday, and all the exports, not the imports. And we go here, and we get this. This is a database, totally available and free, where you get all the information you need. The shipper, the exporter, the imported, and then moisturized analyzer, cones. You get all the information you need from this. It was sent from Lima to Miami, who sent it, and so on. So again, if you don't find information in Italy, you don't have this kind of stuff. You remember that things are registered in many other places, right? And from there, you get all the information. And this is a shipping line directory, but it's not really necessary. As you can see, you just type, for instance, Maersk tracking in Google, and then you get it. And this is the most amazing database. How many of you have used this, marinetraffic.com? Nobody. Okay, so I'm going to show you. I'm sorry, but this is so good. So good to be true. Okay, marine traffic is a database that used to be totally free, but now they got ambitious and they are charging. Still, you can use it. Most of the information is for free. The thing is that the history information, the historic data, is not now totally open. But I found another place that is extracting information from them, and it's for free. So here, what you have is a real-time map. This is real time. Every single ship that it has an AIS. This is like a GPS, right? All the ships have this GPS, let's call it. And so the ports that have the system to track. Okay, we are in Taiwan. Let's go to Italy. So these that you can see there are all the ships parked in every single port around the world. So in order to track or trace a ship, I'm sorry, this is a little bit slow. Okay, here we are, Italy. So let's go to this port. And here you can see, you can filter by all the blue icons are passenger vessels. The cargo vessels are green, and and so on. So if we want to track a cargo vessel, for instance, we have this cargo vessel here. And we can go and see the vessel's details. This is the Cartagena that is parked right now here in Italy. In Livorno, and as you can see, it was called from Napoli before, and you can get everything, the pictures and the history, the itinerary's history, last positions, and something really important is that if you can export this data, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the geocode information, geocode data. These that you can see here, you can map it. If you go to, let's say, Google Fusion tables with this data, you can export every single itinerary of Italian ships or so on, or one ship or many ships, and you can export it and then visualize and track the route, everything. But you're not only allowed to search ships or vessels that are live parked in a port, but you can also go and search all vessels. You see, even if it's not within the range of the GPS, you can go and search all vessels. For instance, the Vesavia, you go, search the vessel, you got it. Remember that before you went to the registry of owners, so you have the owner, the itinerary, the history, everything. And from here, all the technical information and the flag and the EMO number. And you can see the last position, even if it's not within the range of being tracked, You can see the last position, the latitude and longitude, and the port where you would go, and so on. Okay, and you have the same for planes. There is I forgot the address. Plane Finder is called. You have this same thing, but for planes. So basically, you have all the air traffic real time here. And most of the information you have for ships, you can find it also for planes, as I mentioned before. Okay. I think that was it for the tools you need. And now let's start working, because how much time we have left? 10 minutes. God damn it. I talk too much. Okay, let's do just one exercise, and let's do it together, everything. You will find a Word document called exercises. And so you can get, let's do this one. As I mentioned, in May 5, the police and Guardia de Finanza in Calabria seized another container carrying 190 kilos of cocaine in our famous port, Gio Ayatauro. Here is one of the videos. It's amazing. Well, it opens. It's amazing. I mean, every time I do this for any presentation, ta-da! Ta-da! Okay. This is the magic moment. From here, I got the number. I don't think it's very clear in there, but you have the link to the video if you want to have some fun. Normally, the agents are so smart that they cover the number of the container. And this is even worse. When you send photographers or video cameras from the press, they are only taking pictures of the stupid packages of cocaine, not of the. It really bothers me. Please don't do that. Anytime you're going to do that, don't do that, okay? It pissed me off. So now we got the container number from here. So what we are going to do in 5 minutes is, you can start right away. In this document, from here, you get the number. I'm not going to ask you to. This is the number. I got it after seeing the video like 120 times. Here. No. Yeah. Let me see. Yep. So this is the number no, it's not this one. Okay, it's this one. This is the one in the video, right? So in 5 minutes, I'm gonna amplify this for you. In 5 minutes, go. I think it was easier to look at the video again. Okay, it's this one. MSCU 3182230. Yes. So what we're going to do in 5 minutes is let's track this container, where it is now, and what was the last cargo. So suppose that we are the very same day, we look at this video from the port, from the Policía, the Guardia de Finanza, and we will go to the Bureau of Containers, as we did before. We have the big code. Follow it. You can follow this. We can do it together. We go to the big code registration. MSCU, thanks. MSCU. And what we get here is that it belongs to the MSE, the Mediterranean Shipping Company. So we are going to go, it's as easy as this. MSC, tracking and tracing. This company is particularly important for Italy. I mean, I don't know why, but most of the cargo that is going to this port, it's being transported by this shipping company. So we go here and we type MSC. Can you please tell me the number again, MSC? Oh, I think it's this one, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, here we have we trace the container, and we have that the container was sent from Italy to the US, Charleston, or Memphis is the final destination, right? We're gonna find what was sent in this container, and this is a very important piece of data, the voyage number, because this way we will go to, I mean, my very first option, I know I showed you a lot of them, but Enigma now became my favorite, now that I discovered it. No, it's really great. I hope that these guys can continue working. So we have the container number. We can start from there because it's easier. And so we get all the U.S. manifests for the year 2014, and it's a little bit complicated. Once you get used to it, you will see cargo descriptions for the year 2014. So we get here all the shipments in which this container has been involved, right? And let's see, I think it's this one. So from here you get the shipment ID. And so you go and see the manifest. And you go and see the manifest. Are you following me or I'm too fast? Oh, I'm sorry, but you have to tell me. No, I just typed the container number, the same one we got from the video. Okay, I'm going to go back. I searched for the container number. I got lots of catalogs, as you can see. So it depends on what you want. No, this is really amazing. There is even a registration in the UK for land registry. I didn't see that one, but it's okay, so you can go to cargo descriptions. Marks and numbers refer to the container. You get more details, but marks and numbers is not really important. Or you can go to containers. But what are we looking at? We want to know who used this container like this week. So we hit here, cargo descriptions, and we get all the shipments in which this container was involved, right? And as you can see, it's only one for this year. This container has been used one. This is for the US, remember. We are in the US catalog. So we go here, and you see 3 dots in the corner. So you go and type US. You see all results here in the top. So you display all the results. And now what are we doing? We are searching for the shipment, right, instead of the container. We switched from the container, we got the shipment, and now we are going to go to cargo descriptions. Because the question we want answered is, okay, so what we can see here is that this container now in this moment is in Charleston, and it was sent from Italy, as you saw. So it was sent with wine. Haha. Espumante, Grupo Italiano. So in this container, you had all these pieces, 821 things. But then again, if you can go back and see more details about this, for instance, notify consignee. Who bought this wine in the US? This is house to house, the serial number. Okay, let's gonna see the shippers. Giorgio Gori Warehouse. What?
He's a candidate for a city in the northern Italy. He was a former TV producer and very close to Renzi.
What a coincidence. Okay. So if you see, this happened only 2 days ago. And we were really lucky. Huh? He's exporting wine to the U.S. He's exporting wine to the U.S. So if you see, we got all the information we need from here. But remember that this is just for the U.S. The EU is a little bit restrictive in terms of getting all the same information for free. But still, there are many other sources that you can search. Okay, so we have this one done. We have no more time, right? Okay. Well, you can do this if you don't sleep tonight. I bet you will have fun with all this I prepare. This one is particularly interesting because this is the. Do you know there's a huge scandal about the chemical weapons that are being sent from Syria? And they are going to pass through the port of Giao Tauro as well. So there were protests and so on. And so the idea is you got to find the company that is dealing with these chemical weapons, the address and the phone number and so on. It's very easy, and you have all the information available on the web. And also, well, you will see. It's very well described. Well, thank you very much. If you have questions, I will be available. And okay. Place where you can type, if you have the number, you can type the number. Reporter is the country that reports the event. And partner is the one receiving, let's put it this way. So reporter, we're going to search for all the reports of Italy. And then we want to see partners, we want to see everything that was sent all over the world. Of course, we have to focus on something. So we can use this code. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the chemical precursors. Okay, chemical precursors are really, really important because those are the elements that you need to make drugs, basically. This one is one of the most important one. Potassium permanganate is the one that you need to prepare cocaine. And so these chemicals are really, really controlled, and there is an international agreement, and most of the countries are signed to this agreement. So basically, in every country, you cannot freely sell potassium permanganate because it has to be controlled by the governments. So we're going to use this code to see how much potassium permanganate was imported by Italy. So you basically type the code, and as you see, you get manganate, potassium permanganate as the description, and then we want to see everything, and we want to see imports. Okay, so you just download the file, and it's going to generate a CSV file that you can then import from Excel or any other tool. Okay. So as you can see, we have every single import, not individually, but I mean, it's very close to that, because as you can see, we have the value, how much it was paid, and this is monthly data. So for instance, we can see here the countries where the potassium permanganate is imported. It's basically Belgium, France, Germany, the Netherlands, and Spain. So there is something very easy that we're going to do. United Nations database containing all the statistics and description of trade around the world, trade of anything you can imagine. And there are many ways to search. This is the annual database. But first of all, I want you to get familiar with what we have here. As well as things have a code, countries as well have codes. So you can go to the country list and find the code for Italy, for instance. It's 381, and this is important because, as you will see, once we start doing queries and searches, you will need this code. So you can find this here in Fast Tracks, as well as the commodity list. All I showed before came from here. So you have 99 big numbers, like 2 numbers, and basically from there, everything breaks down. Like here you have the 89, it's ships, boats, and other floating structures. And it breaks down until vessels, for instance. And even from there, you have more specific characteristics of the code. And this is a 6-digit code. But then what happens when things are imported or exported is that specific regions or countries have more, they add more numbers to this code. Like, for instance, if you have a table for UN Comtrade, the table will be 6-digit number, but then you can add 2 or 3 numbers more, like for a 6 feet table or so on. I mean, you can really go specific on things depending on the code. But this is, as I say, this is international, and customs around the world use these codes in order to send, to export and export. Okay. Now that you know where to find the descriptions, let's go to the monthly data. And let's do a very, very short exercise just to get familiar with the database and how does it work. If you go to monthly data, you will have a more friendly interface than the one of the annual data. I hope this works. Sure. Okay, here we go. So here you have this tab, choose table view, and go to this query, and you can download it and run it from a Mac or PC. If you want to follow the presentation, you can use this. And finally, and this is really important, all the sources that we're going to use during the session are in this file called sources. So basically, it contains all the links and descriptions of the databases and tools that we're going to use during the session. Okay, so let's start. Okay, first of all, we're going to try to change our mind about things. Every single thing, every single tangible thing has a code. My glasses, your shirt, this chair, everything, the microphone, everything has an HS code. And this is really important in order to trace trade, international trade. So for instance, these are not knives. In the trade world, these are 821191. This is the code for the table knives. And these are not cigarettes. They are called 24020. And this is an international code. Even military weapons have a code. For instance, this one, if it's traded somehow or sent somewhere in the world, it will be sent by the code 930190. And regular weapons as well, they do have a code, and the code is 9307. Ivory also has a code, 050710, and we can go on and on and on, like with everything you can imagine. So these tanks as well have a code, 871000. Okay, so why is this important? Because, as I mentioned, if we want to follow international trade, we have to get familiar with these codes. I'm going to show you a database that it's really important for every journalist. If you're not covering trade or economics, it doesn't matter. I mean, it works for everybody. Just go to Google and type UN Comtrade. So here we have this database that was recently updated. Until the end of last year, we didn't have monthly data. Now we have. And for instance, you can see, first we're going to go here to describe what do they have. It's basically
Yes, I think so, yeah. So everybody, we're back to the workshops, the data-driven journalism school workshops. So the same reminder, data-driven journalism school, organized by the European Journalism Center and Open Knowledge Foundation. If you want to have all the material, the links, the presentations from all the data-driven journalism school panels, the 10 workshops, you need to register on datajournalismschool.net, and you'll get emails with all the material. And you also need to share your impressions and what you think, your questions, what you learn on social media using the hashtag DDJSchool. And now I'm very happy to give the floor to Giannina Senini, who was leading one of the greatest data investigation teams worldwide in the newsroom of La Nación in Costa Rica, and who is going to give us a 1.5-hour workshop on investigating financial data. Sorry, I don't remember. Investigative organized crime data. So it's going to be a hands-on training. So if you have your computers, pull them out and get ready to work with Giannina. Giannina, I give you the floor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Antoine, and I'm very glad to be here. First of all, how many of you have computers? And do you have Wi-Fi connection, all of you? Great. Okay, because the idea is that we're going to work on specific cases. First, I'm going to give you some tools and examples on what you can do, and then this is the public folder for this session, so please go there, and if you want to download everything, you can do it, or you can work directly from the folder. So while you get in, I'm going to briefly describe what is this session about. It really started from a particular case that I'm going to show you, and then I became like obsessed with investigating cargo, shipping, and maritime resources and tools. And since then, I've been getting inputs and tips from many people around the world on how can you trace, how can you track shipments, cargo, and so on. Did you copy the link? Yeah. Okay. Now? Okay. So well, you will see this once you. This is a public folder that contains everything you will need for this session, including the presentation. So this is a folder with some data sets that I downloaded. I don't know if we're going to have time to use them. Then you have this Word document, which is all the exercises that we're going to do at the end of the session. Some of them we're going to do it together, and some of them we will have like a competition, and I hope that you can, all of you can finish. And this is a data set. Not a data set, this is just an Excel file with all the confiscation of containers in the port of Gioia Tauro. How many Italians are here? Okay, so great, because this is going to be a very Italian session. I mean, all the data and things that we're going to use are from Italy. And I did some research on what could be interesting for Italy, and I found out, I don't know if it's true or not, that the Gioia Tauro port in Calabria is taken by the mafia. So we're going to work with some cargo shippings from and to Gioia Tauro. So what you have here is an Excel file with some of the most recent events, and this is the date, the port, and how many kilograms of cocaine were confiscated, as well as the description. And some of them have, this I took it from the internet, basically some press releases and stories published by the media. So the idea is that we're going to try to track these shipments and at the end of the session, as I said. Then here you also have, this is the presentation. It's in Prezi. It's an exportable file.